Hello guys, here's Alex, DrPuppet Weber, for another behind the scenes interview. Today I'm joined by the coach and analyst from Brazilian esports team Scenes Intz Abaxial, Alexander Abaxial Lol Haibo. First of all, congrats to the win yesterday at the XMA Arena against Spain. So, welcome, and how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. As some people know, I had a pretty bad allergic reaction last night, but I'm doing okay now. So, yeah. Good morning.
Still, good feeling to have a win back, even if you weren't around. So I think you are proud of your team. So let's talk a bit about yourself first. Like before we go into your career, into esports and general coaching and working within in the Brazilian scene, of course. How did you get into esports and gaming overall?
Okay. Esports. If you want to go back really far back, like I played Warcraft 3, a decade ago, along with some other, not at exactly the same time, but like Monty got started there, Freak got started there, et cetera, et cetera. Only thing I ever really did was I finished third at this one WCG regional qualifier, but I got the bug bit me there. I liked esports. I had like some involvement in professional Warcraft 3, not a lot, but a little bit. But yeah, that's not what this interview is about. So, anyways, as for League of Legends, I started playing it like my last year of college, and I got masters. I guess more like a year and a half. I got master after about a year and a half of playing, and after I moved away from college, I had crappy internet, so I turned to writing, turned to seeing if I could get involved with professional leagues some other way, because I wasn't going anywhere on the ladder. I was disconnecting too much. So that's about it.
So you started as a content creator, am I right? I remember you working with Gold Pretend, doing some interviews and posting some articles, even at least. And how did you get into coaching, by the way?
Okay, well, my first writing stints were on a website called Cloth 5 that's not really active anymore. But I did get some good exposure there. I did some statistical articles there that I thought were, pretty new, pretty original. And even though the analysis from that was better for like a fan point of view than like an actual competitive strategy point of view, I still learned a decent bit about the game doing that. And I showed that I could communicate. So, even though job postings didn't really go out until November or whatever, I was thinking about trying to work with a professional team a while before then. I just didn't really see any angles. Then if we talk about the lead up to INTZ, so towards the end of the year, I was pursuing a analyst position with Copenhagen Wolves. I almost got it. They went with someone else ultimately, mostly because I wasn't fast enough. I had done a lot of stuff, like writing stuff, where I could take my time, spend hours on something, but I wasn't very good on my feet. And just in general, I don't think I'm a very fast thinker. Okay. I just had to learn to be able to watch a replay and say what went wrong right then and there, which is a skill I've gotten better at over time. I have no hard feelings towards Copenhagen Wolves. It was fair, and then I started working with I did get to work with a team from Chile called Last Kings. They're like a challenger team. They qualified for their equivalent LCS called Opening Cup. We eventually got third in the regular season with them, but it was a small time thing. They were always open to me looking for other positions. Almost got a job with Coast, but they were looking for an analyst halfway through the season. And I applied. Worked very hard in that application. And a week and a half later, they're like, "Yeah, we like you, but our season's going kind of bad. We can't justify it. Sorry." So that was just kind of like tough luck. I was like, I almost said it. But then, like, not long after, I got offered to try for INTZ, and that's about the story.
And that's great news, actually. So, as you can see, you worked hard. So, guys, if you are watching and wanting to go into esports coaching, just throw your word around and, try to connect to most esports titles and coaching venues and, of course, organizations out there, and you might get an offer like him. And you mentioned to me before that you were a competitive swimmer for a few years. Did this influence in any way your esports career, or was it something? Did you have any similar feelings or motivation that you had for swimming and competition at all towards esports as well?
Oh yeah, I mean, competition is competition. Things that swimming teaches that can be applied to league is that mostly discipline. I mean, a lot of esports people work hard but aren't disciplined. Like, they can't sustain their hard work. They can't, keep it up week after week. In swimming, like, you have to keep a schedule. You have to, show up to practice on time, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's just, it teaches a consistency that, isn't there in esports. Like, people, maybe this guy plays solo queue for 16 hours for like 2 days, and then he burns himself out completely. He doesn't play the rest of the week. And, they have terrible sleep schedules and stuff like that. Swimming taught me, how to have a bit more regularity to it. And just in general, the secret to hard work isn't to, think of it as hard work. It's just you're doing what's expected of you. You're doing what's necessary. And then it's not, you don't think of it as hard work anymore. You just do it. Yeah. You could also say that swimming is not a team sport like league is. So you don't get the whole, team dynamic, proper communication, stuff like that. Took me a very long time to get good at communicating, but it is a cerebral sport. You have to work very hard on your technique, and you can apply some of that really in-depth approach towards mechanics in league, towards map strategy in league and stuff like that. So you are taught to think when you swim. The vast majority of swimmers, even the ones that even the ones that are very talented, still have to think very hard about what they're doing. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but as it seems, you could apply what you learn from swimming in developing solo skills into applying into your solo queue skills, or could you give that advices to your players? And of course, which elo did you picked actually in League of Legends when you played solo queue?
Well, Master wasn't out when I peaked. It was I got to Diamond 140 points, mostly spamming jungle and top. Then I didn't have a big champion pool or whatever, but I was there. That's roughly equivalent to Master. I got pretty close earlier this year before I started coaching. But obviously once I started coaching, I didn't have time. I was I was almost up there. I got to.
You were spamming.
I was like that.
You were spamming them VODs.
Just short Master. What?
You were spamming them VODs and.
Oh yeah.
So you were playing to coach solo queue. So.
And I was climbing this year while disconnecting every single game. It was, anyways, so applying that to mechanics and stuff. I mean, something that I don't think a lot of people do is they don't actually think about the physicality of how they hold the mouse, or they like exactly what you're doing when you throw a skill shot. Like it's not just about your hand-eye coordination. It's also about like predicting movement. I find that I'm perfectly fine on hand-eye coordination, but I'm very bad at predicting movement. So I had to I would still like slow myself down just to like make sure I'm absolutely predicting it. I didn't try it. Well, a lot of skill shot champions, I didn't try to like throw skills on cooldown. I just like focus on the prediction, slow it down. Yeah, I mean, that's about as much as I can say without getting really weird and like talking about things that don't really apply to myself. So, but yeah, I just try to think hard about it.
All right, yeah, it seems like a good approach, which everyone that's trying to get somewhere with League should think about it and developing the solo queue skills better. And of course, let's go to the main topic of this interview, and it is your work with Intz. You already mentioned before that you how you got into coaching, etc. But how was this procedure with Intz eSports? How did they approach to you? How did you connect with them? Did you have any tryouts with them, or at all? How did it all work?
Okay. Well, I got told that INTZ was looking for a coach from a friend. I've been lucky to develop some connections, in my earlier work with esports. So, connections are how everything gets done in esports. It's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
Because you can't really publicly show everything you've got. It's not very smart for your career. Well, I don't know. It's weird. That's a topic into itself. But yeah, so I got told they were looking for a coach. This is literally a week before their semis with Pain, and we just kind of jumped right in. I gave feedback after games. I helped develop the big band, and after the games with Pain, they were like, "Yeah, we like you, and why don't you fly on down to Brazil?" So I had to get a visa approved, and then that was a whole headache. And eventually it ended up where I just flew the day before the finals. And then we win. And wow. Then we fly to Turkey the next day. And yeah, it was just like it's been a roller coaster. Yeah, but so I had a week-long tryout. Kind of getting had to hit the ground running there, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, that seems like a cool story, and even if stressful, a lot of fun involved. So, what was so appealing actually to Coach Intz? Like, as you try to work with other organizations in ALCS and Challenger scene. But what was so appealing that you really want to try out for NITZ?
Well, there's first it was like the biggest opportunity that had been made available to me. That's pretty simple. But beyond that, I was impressed with everyone's demeanor pretty quickly. We just seemed to click together very easily. Like, I don't have actual experience, but I've heard, plenty of horror stories about various LCS teams and bad work ethics or bad team dynamics and all that stuff. And I haven't really encountered that problem here. They're not perfect, but it could be a lot worse. Everyone seems to get along. Yeah.
Nobody's perfect anyways, right? So, what was your first thought about the team before you started coaching them?
Well, I didn't really have any because, it's painful to admit this, but it's true. I didn't really watch Brazil before, getting offered to work with INTZ. I watched like a couple CB LOL games, but I wasn't really paying attention. So, I heard they had a good rep. I heard they were good. So, that's motivation in itself, I guess, or it's got me excited. Yeah, that's about it.
Wow, that's seems that you have a lot to read upon on now about the rivalries, the stories, and no, just kidding. So how was working with Ints then? Like you already mentioned that they were kind of easy to work with, and how was this experience like? You flew in to Brazil, then you prepared for finals, then you went right into the wildcard tournament. How was this? Was this? I think it was a time span about 1 or 2 weeks. How was the time span of work with Ints?
It was good. Unfortunately, like I didn't feel like we got like the time necessary to like actually improve during that week. Like it was just more like, you know, whatever level we built up to face Cade, and then after that we're just traveling and you know, competing. So you know, I didn't really get chances to like, you know, go over replays or go over VODs. It was mostly just like whatever games we did get, you know, we just try to talk about them afterwards. And you know, like start thinking about the next game, because obviously, you know, group stage goes like really fast. You know,
Yeah.
you don't get a lot of time to reflect on what's going on. And you know, you don't even get that much time to like study your opponents. Not if you have 3 opponents the next day. Like there's only so much prep you can do for that. Yeah, I mean, I got pretty tired. You know, I aforementioned allergies. I often went very long periods of time without food. The worst was flying back from Turkey. I had to go 16 hours.
Oh yeah.
That really sucked. But all that said, the players actually did worse than me. Like I mean, they were so jet lagged on the first day, and like Talkers in particular was sleepy like the entire tournament and just like feeling like poop. Like he didn't have a great tournament, and he knew it. Like he was constantly pissed and constantly tired. It was so horrible.
Yeah. Well, I think you all couldn't do anything because the schedules were like really bad scheduled. Yeah. Like you can't really do much. So my next question would be like now you coach them a mix of remotely and live, since you worked with them one time before and then flew right into Brazil to help them and coach them. How do you plan to coach them now, like since you live in the United States?
I don't know yet, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. We've been so busy just like running around preparing for this tournament, preparing for that tournament, that we haven't really gotten to discuss the long-term future. I'll probably do that in a couple of days. I don't really know. As far as live coaching versus, you know, replay coaching online goes, live coaching is actually pretty hard because you get kind of an information overload. I've got like my computer right here, and then like everyone else's computer is like fanned out over here. And so I can either watch the replay or I can watch, you know, everyone's computers live. And you know, just trying to watch 5 screens at once is like it's information overload. It's really hard to get everything at once. And you know, I'm trying to take notes, and then maybe I run back over here to like look at the thing at whatever happened 3 minutes later and think about it. It's definitely really hard. But I try to do my best. You know, the team's pretty good at identifying, you know, their own flaws. You know, in particular, Revolta is very good at helping out with, you know, kind of leading the discussion, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
So, while you mentioned the coaching style right here, I'm a bit of a coach myself, and I worked with a few high elo European players the last few months, and I had a very very good discussion with the coach from the organization I'm working with, and about coaching itself. Like you can, I think. If you are coaching live, like you mentioned right now, you should focus on a bigger image and try to work on the communication. While someone that would analyze the VOD, like watching the replay and syncing with the comms later on, would be a lot better for someone to analyze and then give solid feedback on everything what happened, like a really in-depth analysis. But what is your take on this? What do you think about coaching live and the analyze that we already started to talk a bit about?
Well, first off, this is gonna come as a bit of a shocker, and like some people would just be like, "Are you serious?" But the team scrims in Portuguese, so unless I actually see like a disconnect, like in game, or like or I'll ask a pointed question over like did we know this guy had flash up? Did we know this guy was vulnerable? Stuff like that. I don't actually work in the communication too much. I know I made the right decision when I was trying out to have them like keep screaming in Portuguese, just because it was a week before the pain semis. Like that, I don't want to mess with that too much. I could have maybe made them start screaming in English after those semis, and when Cade, the Cade games, like 3 weeks away. I could have had them switch to English there, but it didn't occur to me. I just didn't think of it. We thought about it after the wild card, but we tried it once or twice. Kind of meh on it. And then we decided just stick to Portuguese for the XMA. Now what we do in the future, I don't know. Maybe we'll stick to it. Maybe we'll switch to English. When we tried English, we have some players are more comfortable with it than others. Everyone on the team has some English ability, but it's some of them felt like they were being slowed down by it, and they were having trouble comprehending stuff. Now, obviously, given a couple weeks, that would probably improve, but. Yeah, it's still delicate, anyways.
Then the question still in the room: would it be worth though to make them switch the language just for the scrims and mixing up languages? I don't know how much you think this would be improving their game by you being able to work on their communication if they switch the languages. As a Brazilian myself, sometimes in Brazil. There's need some background needed here. It's not all schools have very good English level in schools in Brazil, so that's why the different levels of Portuguese and of Brazilians is very, very different, and that's why maybe some of your players have an easier time with it and some harder time. So, well, let's see what's coming up with the future. And looking back to your experience with the team so far, how would you rate them nationally and internationally as a team?
Okay, well, I think they all have pretty good mechanics. Some games they're stronger than others, but overall, I still think pretty consistent. Our bot line's maybe been a little inconsistent lately. But they could still be a lot worse. It's not as if they ever feed. It's just they have a few synergy issues right now, and they're sometimes not moving around the map correctly. But we're working on it, and they're still a lot more consistent than some other bot lines I've seen. So. I'm happy with them. As I don't really know enough to just be like, oh, so and so is the best in Brazil. Everyone says Revolta is the best in Brazil, but I don't know enough to really say that. I mean, I've seen some teams in scrims, and Revolta usually does well, but I don't really feel I know enough to just like know every single player in Brazil. I just haven't been here that long. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, when we went to the wild card, we also scrimmed some like EU teams, and players held up fine mechanically. The whole thing with international competition is like, you can get players with good mechanics from anywhere. Yeah. There are plenty of players with maybe not world class but perfectly serviceable mechanics at the wild card, but it's a lot more about the decision making and strategy component of the game. That's what holds these teams back, not just like their talent or their work ethic to develop good mechanics and be good individually.
But now that's in Speak as a coach, that could be the first step on improving that issues. I mean, Kate and Payne have also coaches. I don't know about CNB, and since the other teams that are coming now into the next split of CBLOL are sister teams, they would benefit a lot of the scrims and coaching from the organizations. Do you think if after this season and maybe the next year they could be on the same level as the other regions?
The region will get better. First off, the CNB does have a coach. I've met him. He's a nice guy. He's actually the ex-jungler for this team, DrPuppet or something like that. Okay. As far as improvement goes, yes, some teams have definitely improved a bit. Yes, our sister team Red, they have gotten a lot better. We used to just like spank them in scrims before. We stopped scrimming like 3 or 4 days out from the finals of Cade because the players had to travel and whatnot. And up until that point, they didn't really put much of a fight in scrims. And then 2 weeks later, we come back from Turkey and they're actually like really good. So they learned a lot from us. And honestly, they could be like the number 3 team in Brazil right now behind us in Pain. Who knows if that will stay throughout the season. Yeah. But just like right now, with all the practice they were doing to qualify, they are definitely like a serious threat. But the thing about strategy is that you really have to be exposed to better strategy in order to understand it and figure out how to counter it. Like, there's only so much you can do on paper. Like, I feel like I'm pretty good at level 1 stuff right now and lane swaps and stuff like that because I can script out like the first 5 to 8 minutes of a game like in a pretty good amount of detail. But beyond that, it's kind of up to the players. I can only be so specific as to what you're going to be doing 10 minutes into the game, 15 minutes into the game. I can't like actually, it's not like chess. I don't actually have this all like planned out ahead of time. Just because, the game's unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. When we went to EU and we scrimmed these EU LCS teams, we found that, among other things, they were much better at positioning around objectives, and they were much better at minion manipulation and calling turret health and stuff like that, and finding ways to pick up turrets for free. There's some complexity to that, but we actually got a lot of early leads against those EU teams, but and sometimes very very significant. Like, we should win this game, but we failed to close it out. We'll get to it later, I'm sure. But the finals against Besiktas, that's not necessarily a fluke that we lost. Okay, you can talk about that later.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely.
Yeah. I think that's about all I had to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, one more thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to a couple. I actually got to talk to a couple riders about the event, and they agree. Like, it's tough to get these international regions to get to scrim other like more developed regions, just because of ping issues and like
boot camping.
Yeah, ping. I mean, like, the only way around it would be to travel these teams, but they can't travel in the middle of the regional season. Yeah. Like, it doesn't add up. They're thinking about it. They're aware of the issue, but figuring out a solution to it is very hard.
Yeah, sure. Of course, before I get to the next question, I want to praise Intz for actually, when I was watching a few VODs, when we were talking a bit. I really saw a system in the level 1, and I think it was for in terms of a wildcard region, very well played level 1 and lane swap. I was very impressed by the lane swap, and I think this is already the first step of getting closer to the more developed regions. So I think if there is a thing which we are gonna talk about later when we talk about the wildcard tournament, will be the mid-game rotations. But we can talk about that later. So before we go into that, I want to talk about 2 more topics first of the Brazilian scene. And there have been a few Korean imports throughout the last 2 or 3 seasons in the Brazilian scene, and Kate and Payne had Korean imports with Suno and Winged and Ole and Lactea, but this season there was Emperor and Daydream, former CG Endorsor Azubu, and how do you think they influence the Brazilian scene? Because you had a contact with Scrims also and played, your team played against them, and how do you think this could improve the scene? Like, in terms of skill level, strategical level, and general experience?
Well, okay, my only experience with Emperor and Daydream is through VODs, what my players tell me, and the final set we played with them. We didn't scrim Kate at all during the semis series with while we were preparing for the semis against Payne. They scrimmed other people. I mean, obviously, they felt we were the biggest threat, so they're not going to give us anything. Now, my players tell me that, yes, when they came, they definitely raised the play for everyone else in the region. Like, they challenged everyone. They were much better than everyone for like 2 weeks. But then after a while, other players started to adapt and learn from them. So, yeah, I mean, it definitely helps. But it's kind of unfortunate for Cade that they're the ones who imported, but it's kind of like we're the ones who actually benefited the most from it, because our players got a lot better interacting with their Koreans. So I don't know if just teams randomly importing Koreans is like the best way for this to all happen. I mean, I'd much rather we just got to scrim some Korean teams, but or maybe play against them solo queue somehow. But that's probably not happening anytime soon. So yeah.
Well, but definitely it's at least improved the players in a individual and solo skill level, and by improving the general level of the server. But anyways, I would rather call it a new CBLOL next split as a small OGN in some kind of a way, because you have 5 organizations there, 3 sister teams like Intz Red, Kaboom Orange, Kaboom Black, Cade Stars, Cade Warriors, CNB Esports Club, and Pain Gaming. So the thing is, this system skyrocketed Korea 2 years ago to the top of the level. Like, right now they are still the top region developing talent, but will this improve the Brazilian scene, or will it backfire? Because now we have 5 war orgs in the biggest competition in Brazil in League of Legends esports. This could set a lot of the other organizations back, or even make them disband their organizations for whatever reason. Do you think this will backfire, or will it improve the scene?
I'm not really sure. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really that educated on like the business of esports and like, you know, the decisions orgs makes and all that stuff. You know, I've read a little, but I can't. I'd be very bad at predicting this. As far as whether having sister teams is good, I think it's a net gain overall. Just because like all these big teams have someone that they know they can scrim against, and you know, they won't go blabbing. You know, you can try a lot of weird things, or you can ask them. You know, it doesn't happen very often because just because like they're preparing for different opponents, but you can sometimes ask your sister team to like, you know, try and emulate something or something like that. Talk strategy. For the most part, you know, you just operate independently, but there is that option if it really seems necessary. You know, just I think it's overall like a slight boost to level of play having sister teams, but not by a whole lot. If that makes sense. Like, you know, it's not as if like we're super buddy and like, you know, we're sharing every single strategy, but you know, there's a little back and forth there. If that makes sense.
All right, so we will have to wait and see what happens in the coming season, but it will be exciting to see how it turns out. All right, so let's go back to the topic we already talked a bit before, and it will be the wildcard tournament. You already mentioned that day one was a jet lag day, and everybody wasn't really on the top of their level, and well, we could see in the play, sadly. I was cheering here for Intz, of course, but second day you showed up and crushed on people like it was insane. I don't have even the words for it. But before we talk about the match against Besiktas, which was definitely the most important one and most interesting one to analyze, what did you learn from the whole tournament experience?
Let's see. I would say that mostly I learned how to just keep it simple in picks and bans. Like, you know, kind of trust myself that I can, you know, I can work out what's going on the fly, because, you know, we didn't have that much time to review stuff. We don't have too much time to figure out to know their champion pools completely. Yeah, so this is we got some research in and benefit from it. For example, we banned Nunu Udyr against Bangkok Titans, and their jungler was like,
what should I play? No.
Exactly. But you know, like the speed issues I talked about earlier, in terms of just like thinking fast, it really helped me get better at that. Obviously, I get some practice whenever we scrim, because, you know, I have to dictate champion select, but doing it with a little more pressure, and getting the team to talk, everyone to talk quickly and think about stuff. That was probably the biggest takeaway from the tournament. I mean, we learned a couple things about the meta and like what champions we feel counter what. For example, you may have noticed we were banning Sivir during the group stages, but afterwards we were okay with it. Like in terms of like how we're going to approach that. You know, same goes for a couple other champions. We just learned what counters what, and improved our knowledge of the meta. That's about it. I didn't learn too much about like my strength, you know, like the level ones and lane swaps over the tournament. You know, everyone else wanted to play standard lanes. Oh, and well, obviously, I got to see our weaknesses, our you know, our crappy positioning around objectives and all that.
So that's
we just like we were bad at team fighting that whole tournament. Like, even when we were grouped, like we'd have someone in the wrong position, they'd just get caught and die, and then it turned to 4 versus 5, and so we'd go even or lose this team fight when we're like a 5, 6, 8K gold, whatever. So we're trying to work on that. We're trying to work on moving as a unit and respecting their engage, kind of, among other things.
All right, so I think that's the perfect meta to improve it. So I'm excited to see what will come next, because when we're gonna talk about now the finals of the tournament, you lost against Besiktas, even though you managed to win against them previously in the group stage. And which I think is very interesting, because you already mentioned the mid and late game movements of eSports, a bit lackluster here and there. And when I watched the VODs, because we were chatting a bit about strategical discussions, picks and bans and stuff like that in the group, also from Gold per 10, and we talked a bit in private as well. And I was watching through the series against Skate Stars, the trio finals, and like I mentioned before, you had a really, really clear role swap, but when it comes to transitioning, even though in that first game of the series, you dropped really far behind by getting picked off, but you cheesed with what I would call a fanatic brush. Just sit there in the death rush and wait for them to come, and you just I don't know, but then it seems like the team was in unit and just crushed on everybody. But until that point, you lacked a bit on, I don't know, finding the right rotation, and I think you already mentioned also before, that was clearly to see in the Besiktas series. But so what's your take on the Besiktas series?
Well, I mean, a lot of people made excuses for us that we're still jet lagged. It's we flew to this other country. The players are still pretty tired. Or Besiktas, like the crowd was really in their favor, and the game was live, by the way. Like some people think it was delayed. No, it was live. So yes, they were screaming whenever we were looked at Baron and all that stuff. And to do those things have weight, sure, but ultimately the healthier attitude is to focus on our strategical problems, not try and chalk it up to tilt or the crowd getting to the players or whatever. That was just it. We had strategical issues. If we were better at those at the mid and late game positioning, we would have won. It's that simple. And while Besiktas wasn't quite as good at exploiting those things as the ULCS teams we scrimmed, they were still better at that fast of the game. So while we did a lot of things better than them, obviously we got big leads in 3 out of 4 games. We just we had that weakness, and they were better at us in that one facet of the game, and that's all they needed to win. And we're gonna fix that. It's just that's just how it is.
Yeah, but at least I would say it was a good experience for the whole team, man. Looking at the whole tournament experience, how would you rate the wildcard regions actually? Compare, of course, between each other and comparing to the more developed regions.
It got a little weird during the group stages, but ultimately it shook out about how people expected, with Brazil and Turkey on top. Hard Random was a pretty good team too. I think the rest of them were probably all around even. Bangkok Titans did really well in the group stage, but they were really limited. They were just they're kind of like one-trick ponies.
Yeah.
And then Turkey just got a little time to study that, and then they're like, oh, okay, we just have to do these things, and they 3-0'd them. Even though Bangkok Titans came out of group stage at number 1, they weren't actually that strong. It's just people weren't comfortable playing against Trick TG, Udyr, all that nonsense.
There's no Brazilian trick to G yet.
I don't think so. Revolta plays it a little now and then, but I'm not a big fan of it. Let's see. I mean, going back to what I said earlier, I saw good players on every team. There were a few players that were outmatched by their competition, but every team had at least one or two players that looked like they could stand up, in other regions, and maybe not world class, but competent. Someone you can work with. I'm not really gonna call out, try to pick out this region is the weakest region, because I didn't feel I had that much information to really figure it out. So Brazil and Turkey, Russia, everyone else, kind of.
All right. So looking on to the future, you just won XMA, and soon the CBLO will start again. Not that there's not too much time coming before it. So what will happen now? Will you still continue working with Intz? Is there anything you can tell us about it right now?
I have no idea what's going to happen.
That's a good plan.
I have absolutely no idea. We just haven't had the time to talk about business in the future yet. That'll probably come maybe today, maybe tomorrow. But we've just been busy. I didn't. I didn't want to talk business. I was busy prepping for games. I've been working nonstop for the past 2 weeks or whatever. I didn't have time to have that discussion. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to hide anything, guys. It's just I don't know anything.
So I think it will be the surprise box and see what happens. So looking to the Brazil and the Brazilian scene and the teams, how far do you think can Intz go in national and of course international level?
Well, as of right now, we're obviously the favorites to win this, the next split. Pain is going to be pretty good competition, I think, but I don't know how great they'll be as a team. I mean, obviously they have good individual players, but
they have been roster swapping back and forth with Kate. So
yeah, I don't know a lot, but I know there's been some back and forth there. So maybe this is the exact right one. Maybe not. I don't know. But obviously we're gonna take them seriously. They took a game off us yesterday. Maybe if I was there, we wouldn't have made a mistaken champion selection. But we still lost the game. They still won the game. It was fair and square. I don't think they have a coach there in person. I know they do, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. We're definitely the favorites right now. I think if we get to an international tournament again, if we get to Worlds or whatever, I think we can actually do pretty well, but we need just a little bit of time to scrim. Those two, we only got 2 scrims blocks over in EU, or actually 3. But those 3 scrim blocks taught me a lot more about this team than 3 weeks over in Brazil. So, I mean, I'm not trying to diss our scrim partners or whatever, but we just learned so much more about. We just learned so much more about the game, and if I could just get a week or 2 being exposed to that, so that I can improve, I can understand the game better, and then translate to the players, then I think we could be a lot better. But we need to get exposed to better strategy in order to improve ourselves. Because again, the mechanics are there. It's just we need to see this strategy. We need to play against it. And it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen in 2 days of scrims before a tournament. We need actual weeks of practice against that stuff, and then maybe they could be a world-class team. Maybe they could, make top 8 at Worlds or something like that. I think it's possible, but it's just the practice needs to happen, and I don't know how that practice is going to happen.
Well, we can only hope that you gonna put camp anywhere. So the next question would be, of course, how far do you think can Brazilian esports grow in the next set amount of time?
Well, I mean, the scene's already like pretty big. Obviously the fans are very excitable. They really love their teams down here. They all come up for photos. They all come up to. They're all very active on social media, et cetera, et cetera. They're all very nice when they meet you. Like the finals against Cade, the venue only sat like 2,000, but they actually had like it broadcast not just online, but actually in movie theaters around the country. So yeah. I don't know exactly what the viewership numbers are for that, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like in the ballpark of like 500,000 to 1 million. Like it definitely like moves some traffic. In terms of how much bigger it gets than that, I don't know, but like the finals for CBLOL in the summer season, it's gonna be held at like a soccer stadium, I believe.
Yeah,
or football stadium for Americans.
It was I don't know, but this was a really big venue in Brazil, at least. Was already
I think it's
big.
I think it's supposed to be over 10,000. Like I think like something in like the range of 12 to 14,000. So that's gonna be big. It'll be quite exciting, I'm sure. Beyond that, again, I'm not really educated on the business of esports, so I don't know how to really put getting bigger into like numbers or concrete details. But I think the future's pretty bright.
That sounds good. So, well, we're coming to an end, and right now we have one Twitter question and a few fun questions I like to do in the end of my interview. So, at carerr asked, what teams did you work with before? I think you already answered that, but would you like to sum up?
Yeah. So, I got to try out for a day with Copenhagen Wolves. And I worked with Last Kings for about a month and a half, 2 months, something like that, before working with INTZ. And beyond that, I have no history other than as just a author and solo queue player.
All right. So for this fun section, I just say answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. So just a few relaxed questions. So are you up for it?
Sure.
All right. Favorite book?
13 and a Half Lives with Captain Bluebear by Walter Mose. Originally written in German, but the English translation is still extremely good.
Favorite game?
Probably Warcraft 3. Yeah.
Classic. Favorite band?
This changes like every week. Maybe Guns N' Roses, but maybe not. I don't know.
All right. Favorite movie and TV series?
Favorite movie. I'm not sure about. It might be Interstellar. I just really emotionally powerful. I know it's still a pretty new movie, but compared to like some other classic ones, but. I haven't watched like a lot of TV and a lot of movies. It's a favorite TV show. I don't know, like all those stupid Saturday morning cartoons, I guess. So, I don't know. I mean, like I read all the Game of Thrones books, so I really like the series Game of Thrones, but everyone likes Game of Thrones, so that's not very hipster. And my childhood is more about like Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, like everyone else whatever. In this world. If they had a good childhood, at least. No, just kidding. But, well, the most important question comes now as the last one. How much Portuguese did you learn so far?
I know like 5 words, and most of them are very inappropriate. So
that you surely don't want to mention right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
It taught me gustoso, but that's that's what I feel comfortable saying right now.
Well,
yeah.
So it seems that you learned the important words when you're learning a new language. So
yes, yeah, all the very.
Everything seems
we are
alright.
It's just these words are not fit for this kind of broadcast. Yeah.
All right. So, Alexander, thanks for the interview. It was a really fun interview and very in depth as well. So before we come to an end, would you like to give any shout outs?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. So first off, minor apology for being long-winded. I'm not very good at getting to the point yet, but I'll keep working at it. I'll try and get myself thinking faster. Let's see. Shout outs. All my real life friends who play League and got me started on this game in the first place. Played with me even when I was terrible at it. I'm the author of a Cho'Gath guide on solomid.net. It's is a little controversial, but I have like maybe around like 80 to 100 people that added me in game, and they talk to me a lot and they cheer for me. So shout out to them. Let's see, anyone else? I don't know. Mom and Dad for not having a heart attack over me like trying to work in eSports. Yeah, that's about it.
All right.
And also, let's see. Oh, the Cloth 5 guys for getting me started. I made a lot of good friends through that website. Both improved me both as a writer and just like interacting with people. Got me, my first like paid esports gigs. I do I write the script for League Trends at Lil King every week, and met a lot of our content creators like Chakrez who have influenced on my work, and just like how to figure out what people want, and obviously the staff at Goal Pretend too. I haven't made as much work for them, but I've had a lot of good conversations with people there. And I think that's about it. Oh, and Thorin for being my very first Twitter follower.
That's important.
Yeah,
the important things, right? All right. So, guys, also thanks for watching and tuning in. This was behind the scenes with the Intz coach, Alexander Heibel. So, thanks again for watching. If you liked the video, just give a thumbs up and a thumbs down if you didn't like it. Also, if you want to share your thoughts on any kind of discussion we had in this interview, just go right there to the comments down below, and we will be very glad to discuss with you about different topics. And of course, if you don't want to miss out on any action, just follow us on Twitter. The links you can see down below in the description. And of course, if you don't want to miss out my next video, just click on the subscribe button. Adios, guys. Bye bye, amigos.
Bye bye.